in the halls.
Or shots fired in the locker room.
Gunpowder in the air.
We have 223 casings and the smell of gunpowder.
And a gunman taking aim.
Shots fired. Shots fired in the locker room.
Tonight, we're seeing what happened through the eyes of students.
Our friend Tate was banging on the door saying, "There's a guy with a gun, let us in, let us in."
Parents.
She said, "There's a shooting," and then I dropped to the floor in the middle of Walmart.
And focusing in on new information coming in right now.
As another school shooting claims a young life, this time right in our community.
Boy, it really hits home, like your own backyard.
Good evening and thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Wayne Garcia.
And I'm Amy Troy. One student and a gunman are dead and a PE teacher hurt after a shooting inside the locker room at a Troutdale High School. Here's what we know tonight. This happened at Reynolds High School. The student was killed. He was a 14-year-old freshman. A PE teacher was grazed by a bullet, and the gunman was found dead in a bathroom. School is canceled indefinitely as the investigation continues.
Tonight we have crews getting new reaction from that teacher's wife. The latest on the investigation into what happened. But let's start with Fox 12's Kimberly Eaton live at a vigil for that 14-year-old who was killed.
Well, guys, you can see behind us, plenty of people are still out here tonight. Lots of hugs, lots of tears, emotions running high. Now, easily hundreds of folks came out to light a candle, say a prayer in memory of 14-year-old Emilio Hoffman. At one point, the governor even came and stood with his family. Now, tonight, we're hearing from students and friends of Emilio's. They say the 14-year-old was always smiling, that he was caring and supportive, a friend to everyone. We've also learned that he was a member of the school's soccer team. Students say he was very athletic and even volunteered as a coach for younger kids. One classmate said Emilio hoped to be a professional soccer player one day. Now, of course, many emotional stories from inside the school today. One girl told us when the shooting was happening, she was locked down in another part of the building. She had heard rumors that a student had been shot and killed and says she just had a horrible gut feeling that it was her friend. She grew up with Emilio and is here at the vigil tonight to remember her friend and classmate.
He was really outgoing. He always had a smile on his face. He's very supportive of me when I was going through some tough times. Let's say goodbye and tell him what a great friend he is and thank him for supporting me through a lot of things.
Now you can see plenty of folks out here writing messages for Emilio, saying rest in peace, saying they will miss him. Very emotional. Now that friend that you just heard from, she told us that she talked to Emilio's brother today, saying the family's having a hard time. They haven't said much, but again, they were here at the vigil tonight. They stood with the governor. They're asking for privacy and prayers for both families involved. Reporting live, Kimberly Eaton, the 10 o'clock news.
Kimberly, thank you. Well, the only other person hurt today has minor injuries. That was PE teacher Todd Rispler.
And police say his brave actions may have stopped others from getting shot or even killed. All new tonight, Fox 12's Jamie Wilson spoke with Rispler's wife and longtime colleague.
Well, Todd Rispler and his wife Kim are back at home tonight with their children, and I spoke to Kim as she watered her plants out front tonight. She says they're not ready to make any statements yet, but she is in very good spirits, and she should be, because Todd's friends and even police are calling him a hero.
I would also like to extend my appreciation to teacher Todd Rispler, who, despite being injured, was able to make his way to the office and initiate the school lockdown procedure.
After being grazed by a bullet, Chief Scott Anderson explained how Todd Rispler rushed out to warn everyone about the shooter. As a result, teachers locked their classroom doors and turned off the lights, just like they practiced. Debbie Swoboda knows it was risky, but she also says it's just who Todd Rispler really is.
You have to be pretty brave. You have to be pretty brave to do that because, you know, your first instinct, I think, is to keep yourself out of harm's way. He would be the guy that would protect you.
Swoboda was a PE teacher at Reynolds for over 30 years, and her son Kyle is now the head baseball coach. Not only did Debbie work alongside Rispler, but he was her student teacher 20 years ago. Debbie says the kids adore him.
They love him. Yeah. They love him. He's a good guy. I mean, he's a father figure for many kids, and they know that he cares about them.
Debbie says Rispler also went to Reynolds High, and he was a star athlete here. He also coached track up until last year when he quit to spend more time with his daughters.
My heart hurts. And it's a very difficult thing for kids to go through.
Debbie worries that it will take students a long time to recover from this shooting, but she feels better knowing that Todd Rispler will be there.
And he just does the right things. You know, just love him dearly.
Now, Debbie did not see Todd today, but she tells me that she did text him, and he replied saying that he only had to get a few stitches, but he is okay. In Troutdale tonight, Jamie Wilson, the 10 o'clock news.
The first question that many people ask when they live through or hear about a tragedy like this is why? And it may be a while before we get closer to an answer. As Fox 12's Caitlin Bolduc tells us, we still don't know who the shooter is tonight. Caitlin?
And that has proved to be very difficult for students and parents here at Reynolds High School who say they were emotionally ripped apart by this shooting. Many saying it has robbed them of their sense of security, taken by an unidentified shooter whose motives at this hour are still unknown.
Priority call, Reynolds High School. Got a report of shots fired in the locker room.
Code 3 was the chilling call that went out to 911 dispatchers just after 8 o'clock Tuesday morning. An active shooter inside of Reynolds High School was opening fire on hundreds of innocent students. Students who at that time were preparing for finals, signing yearbooks, looking forward to summer.
Reporting the total heard 3 to 4 shots in the locker room and 3 to 4 more in the gym. Employees are locked down in the storage room.
No information about where the suspect is. All we have at this point is possibly wearing a flak jacket. Original report said a black and red motorcycle helmet armed with an assault rifle.
Bullet casings and the smell of gunpowder led police to the school's gym, investigators say, where the shooter first used that rifle. Police say once they made their way into the boys' locker room, they found 14-year-old Emilio Hoffman lying dead on the ground. The shooter firing on PE teacher Todd Rispler as well, grazing him on the hip. Then, in the boys' bathroom, another grisly discovery.
We've got suspect down on the toilet, but we cannot see him.
It appears at this point we have the suspect contained in a bathroom, and we're waiting for the robot to go in and look at him. It may be self-inflicted at this point, but we're not sure, so everybody hold.
Detectives say they still aren't comfortable identifying the shooter, if this was a planned attack, or answer a big question weighing heavy on the hearts of hundreds of Reynolds students. Was the shooter one of their own?
This is a tragedy that affects our whole community. This is not supposed to happen to any school or to any child. But we will get through this together.
Now back out here live, you're taking a look at the command center set up outside of Reynolds High School. As you can imagine, there is still a great deal of evidence to gather and sort through here at the school. Some of that evidence, investigators say they're trying to keep to themselves at this point, so not to jeopardize the investigation. They did tell us today they do plan to release more information about who the shooter was as soon as they get a positive identification from the state medical examiner's office. Reporting live in Troutdale, Caitlin Bolduc, the 10 o'clock news.
Well, adding to the confusion for students, a person with a gun was taken into custody during the high school evacuation process this morning. And tonight, police say that person is not believed to be associated with the shooter or connected to the shooting in any way. Our Fox 12 cameras did capture this video of someone in handcuffs this morning, and investigators thoroughly searched a car outside the school. It's not yet clear if this person had a gun or not. It's also not clear if that person will face any criminal charges.
Now take a look at the school just after thousands of students evacuated from it. This is a pile of backpacks they had to leave behind, and investigators needed to search. Tonight, students were able to pick up some of those belongings at Reynolds Middle School in Fairview. Fox 12's Ben Singer joins us now live from where they all gathered. Ben?
And Wayne, this parking lot was full of cars earlier tonight. Hundreds of students and their parents came here in search of those belongings that are being held inside that gymnasium there. Some are also searching for a little comfort on a very stressful day.
I left all my school stuff.
Students like Alice Erickson came in search of all the items they couldn't take when evacuating Reynolds High School.
We didn't know what was going on. We had no idea.
And in the line to retrieve their belongings, many confronted the feelings they had the moment they left their things behind.
I don't want to go back to school.
I really don't want to go to a school because it's really scary.
And hours after the deadly shooting on campus, parents' nerves are still rattled too.
All the schools should get together this summer and figure out some kind of safety.
It's kind of hard because you never know what might be lurking around the next corner. You know, is there going to be another one? You know, somebody plotting one next week?
You know, a big dog like Noah is good for hugging.
Efforts to help people cope have already begun.
The dogs just provide comfort.
The Red Cross called in the Cascade Canine Crisis Response Team.
Dogs bring out the best in people, and so in some of the darkest moments, you know, it's kind of transcendent.
More dark moments are what many fear the most, and they're searching for answers about how more violence can be prevented.
When we went to school, it was you were safe at home and you were safe at school. Here, you're not even safe at school. So, I mean, something has to be done.
Now, this gymnasium will reopen in the morning from 8:30 to 10:30, so the process of picking things up can continue. It's worth noting that the items inside here are only items that were left outside of the school. There was some confusion about that, and many people came here and left empty-handed. So all of the items inside the school, that is up to police to determine when students will be allowed back inside. Live in Fairview tonight, Ben Singer, the 10 o'clock news.
Ben, thank you. And tonight, students are also returning to school to pick up their cars. They had to evacuate and leave all vehicles at the scene as well.
Some of the most emotional moments today came when parents were finally reunited with their children.
She was in the dark room and it freaked me out because I couldn't talk to her.
Fox 12's Laura Rios was there as one by one those students found their families in a massive and anxious crowd. Their powerful stories are coming up tonight at 10:30. Also, video from students and more of the chilling recording from police. We'll continue to follow this story for you right here on Fox 12 and also online at kptv.com.
The 10 o'clock news is just getting started.
Also ahead tonight.
My wife's been telling the police every time they come out here something bad's going to happen, and something bad has happened.
A missing woman's body found, a secret underground bunker discovered, and a suspected murderer is on the run. All new details about a mystery unfolding at a Portland home. Then we go to the fire lines in Central Oregon. You'll want to see what keeps these crews going.
We aim for 6,000 calories a day for the firefighters.
Plus, startling video shows actor Tracy Morgan being pulled from the limo the night he was critically hurt. And lost in the gorge.
I got a little lost.
Hear from the local hiker who spent an entire night alone in the wilderness.
We're continuing to follow the shooting at Reynolds High School in Troutdale. And this is new video tonight of the vigil going on right now to remember the 14-year-old freshman who was killed inside the school this morning. We have much more coming up on this story, including video taken by a student as they were all evacuating. There's some new developments tonight in the search for a missing Portland woman and her landlord.
Police believe they have now found Renee Sandage Kroll's body, and now her landlord is wanted for murder. Fox 12 Sophie Sung now joins us live with these new details. Sophie?
Detectives found what appears to be Sandage Kroll's body at the home she was renting from and sharing with Gary Lewis on Northeast 66th Avenue. Meanwhile, Lewis is still nowhere to be found. A tactical team surrounded the home this weekend under suspicious circumstances. Police say they first thought Sandage Kroll had disappeared when they couldn't find her during a welfare check Saturday morning. The situation quickly escalated as homicide detectives and the tactical team were called out to investigate. That night, CERT officers fired tear gas and flash grenades before going inside. Then forensics investigators combed through the home yesterday. Today, they revealed they found what they believed to be Sandage Kroll's remains inside. Neighbors say she and Lewis had problems. They say police were often called to the house, and Lewis had tried to evict her several times unsuccessfully. One neighbor took cell phone video showing a ladder sticking out of an underground bunker Lewis had built in his backyard years ago. They say he was a survivalist who kept a store of shelf-stable food.
Nobody's surprised, really. I mean, we all saw this coming, and we tried to help. It's a really sad ending, and no one wanted this to happen.
The body believed to be Sandage Kroll is being taken to the state medical examiner's office for an autopsy. Anyone who knows where Lewis could be is asked to contact Portland police. Sophie Sung, the 10 o'clock news.
The Westland teen that was critically hurt in a crash over the weekend died last night. Until 11:45 last night, Maddie Higgins was being kept alive by machines. She died after being taken off life support. Doctors say she never would have recovered. She was the passenger in a car that crashed on Southwest Pete's Mountain Road Sunday night. The driver of that car, Hayden Soik, a recent graduate of Westland High School, died at the scene. Investigators say that speed was a factor in that crash.
There's all new information from the fire lines near Bend. Tonight, the evacuation order for about 50 homes has now been lifted. Firefighters also have the fire 40% contained, despite the strong afternoon winds they were dealing with. The reward to find the person who started this fire has grown to $4,500. And the cost to fight the Two Bulls fire has grown to $3 million. Fox 12's Brian McMillan spent the day with the crews on the front lines.
Firefighters are going through a briefing right now that you see over there. They've been working hard in the heat all day. Today, we got a glimpse into what makes this fire camp run and what keeps those firefighters going for days and even weeks.
It's all volunteer. We sign up for it.
Justin DeRider is a Portland firefighter, joining hundreds of others from across the state to fight the Two Bulls wildfire.
They're a little bit more challenging, a little bit different than a structure fire.
A few miles away, Kevin Shanders is making sure everything at camp is in order for when they return.
Generally, they're 10-hour days or longer by the time they get back and go back to bed.
Here at camp, every tent and truck has a purpose.
This is the food unit right here.
Every person has a job.
These guys are really professionals. They know what to do.
And every detail,
when people start walking on this soil here, it gets incredibly dusty.
Is worked out ahead of time.
This is just to keep that all down underfoot, especially around the food when we're trying to eat.
This field is private property that the state rents from the owner. When they get the call, everything is set up fast.
Everybody's responsible to bring their own tent, their own sleeping bag, pads, whatever makes them comfortable.
From the kitchen,
we aim for 6,000 calories a day for the firefighters.
To the medical tent.
You're out there doing a lot of work, a lot of hiking, a lot of hand labor, hand line crews, even the little irritations can hinder you. So it's nice that we can treat the small to the large.
It was another positive day on the fire lines as crews lowered some evacuation levels. Doug Emmert from Sweet Home is heading home with his crew after protecting some nearby houses.
We don't see as much wildland stuff in the valley.
All of them are ready to sleep in their own beds.
You don't sleep real well in fire camp.
But not every crew will get to do that until this fire is contained.
We don't know how long we're going to be here. We could be here for 2 or 3 days. We could be here for 2 or 3 weeks.
Winds were a factor today. You can see these tents have blown over, but containment lines out along the fire lines have held. They put in plumbing hoses as well to take care of hot spots. They'll be keeping a close eye on those winds later on tonight and into tomorrow morning. Reporting in Bend, Brian McMillan, the 10 o'clock news.
And we're going to take a look at those winds right now with Chief Meteorologist Mark Nelson. What are they facing out there?
They had stronger wind this afternoon, but in the evening, the wind has really died off quite a bit. In fact, take a look at the current wind speeds. It's gusting to 18 there at Sisters, 11 or 18 in Bend. So it's still a little bit breezy, but the temperature's fallen off. And like Brian mentioned, I think they have a pretty good handle on the fire situation down there. I think a bigger issue probably coming up here is not tomorrow, but as we get into Thursday, because tomorrow just sunny skies, light wind. The wind will be just light from the north, and temperature's pretty moderate, about average for this time of the year. Now, we get into Thursday, we do get a gusty west wind, and you would think, hey, we've got a bunch of showers coming up, right? No, it's all going to stay west of the Cascade Crest. Take a look at the rain forecast the next 3 days. Pretty much nothing in central Oregon and north central Oregon. You can sure see where the crest of the mountains is there, turning kind of wet here west of the mountains, and we'll talk more about that coming up later.
All right, Mark, thank you. All right, question. Will super high-speed internet from Google come to Portland?
Well, it's now in the hands of city leaders. How a vote tomorrow could bring us one step closer to Google Fiber.
And lost in the gorge, you'll hear from a local hiker moments after she was rescued.
And we continue our coverage of that deadly school shooting in Troutdale a little later. Hear what tactical units said as they moved in.
Gunshot, but I thought it was just like something fell, and then another gunshot happened, so we sprinted to the other side of the room while our friend Tate was banging on the door saying, "There's a guy with a gun, let us in, let us in."
Students recount the terrible moments after a gunman opened fire at Reynolds High School, and our coverage continues at 10:30 with video taken inside the school and the chilling audio recordings from police responding. A woman who got lost in the Columbia Gorge was found this morning.
Sheriff's deputies say EMMYS went on a hike yesterday afternoon near Multnomah Falls, and her boyfriend talked with her last night. He hadn't heard from her since until this morning when she was found. Here's video of her walking to safety. We spoke with her shortly after she was brought down to safety.
I feel fine, actually. I'm tired. Ready for a bath. I got a little lost. We'll all turned around. Woo.
This is your first time out on the falls. How was the night?
Actually not bad. The moon was bright, so it was easy to see by, and it wasn't too cold. It wasn't raining on me. I mean, all things considered, not a bad night to get trapped out in the wilderness.
What was your reaction when you saw this?
This was Met's first time hiking that trail system. She was found with the help of the Green Hornets. It's a program of rescue runners that dash up and down the trails, blowing whistles when someone gets lost.
It's always a relief when we find somebody and see the smiles on their face, and she was definitely happy to see us.
They were able to find her after about an hour and a half of searching this morning.
Well, he's one big elephant, and now it looks like he's going to be on one long treatment plan. The Oregon Zoo confirms that Tusco has tested positive for tuberculosis. The 44-year-old Asian elephant will now go through an 18-month treatment regimen to battle that infection. It's not uncommon for elephants to be diagnosed with TB. Packy, the patriarch of the elephant program at the zoo, has been receiving TB treatments since last summer.
We could soon know if Portland will go high-tech with Google Fiber. The City Council is slated to vote tomorrow if it will allow Google Fiber in the city. While Google hasn't announced if it has picked the Rose City for its high-speed fiber internet, it is hiring already. Last month, Google's website listed 2 job openings right here in Portland. A company rep says it is normal to post jobs before deciding on a market, so Google can then hit the ground running when a decision is made. The company plans to announce the next round of cities to get the service by the end of this year.
Okay, next at 10:30, that coverage of the Reynolds High School shooting continues.
We have 223 casings and the smell of gunpowder. Shots fired. I'm sorry, in the locker room.
Up next, the chilling audio from police as they arrive on scene and sort out just what was going on inside that locker room.
Plus, see the moments after the shooting from a student's point of view. The video taken from inside the school before anyone got out.
And the emotional reunions as parents and students find each other in the crowd of thousands after they made it outside the school.
You're watching the 10 o'clock news. First, live, local.
I was just freaking out at first.
She said there's a shooting, and then I dropped to the floor in the middle of Walmart.
Boy, it really hits home. Right in your own backyard.
Well, you can see the fear, the relief, and some sorrow on their faces. These are the moments parents were reunited with their children after the Reynolds High School shooting. As the lockdown was lifted, students were bused about 2 miles away, where parents were then waiting for them to take them home.
Fox 12's Laura Rios was there for that emotional reunion.
You don't need words to describe what these families are feeling. Their relief is obvious.
I don't know, like, I think everything, like, I don't know, like, I'm so emotional. I thank God, just everything good.
Such a relief. Finally, I'm with my family again.
After learning about this morning's shooting, parents rushed to the Wood Village Fred Meyer parking lot to reunite with their children. Thousands lined up behind police tape as they waited, some for hours, for buses carrying those Reynolds High School students to arrive.
It was heart-wrenching, really. I mean, panic, probably all the emotions you can think to go through.
Many parents had received calls or text messages from their children letting them know they were okay, but they wanted to hold their kids to make sure.
She was in the dark room, and it freaked me out because I couldn't talk to her.
Emotion just feels you that you just got to touch him and know that he's okay.
Along with their relief, these families are grieving for the student and his family who did not get to reunite here today.
Horrible feeling. It's all so senseless and just so horrible that something like this could happen, and to kids who are just there to go to school. You know, that somebody would choose to do something like this is you just can't even describe it.
Laura Rios, the 10 o'clock news.
Well, some of those dramatic moments inside the classroom were caught on camera and then emailed to us by a Fox 12 viewer. Her daughter was inside the school and then escorted out by police.
Police, everybody put your hands up, okay? Hands up. Is everybody okay in here? Yeah. Okay, go ahead and stand up, guys. Just follow your teacher, okay? You guys in here, you want to know? Yeah, okay. You're going to go single file, you're going to follow these officers straight down. Okay. Hey, Sarge, we have about 5 coming out. Hey, you're going to be safe. Just keep your hands out of your bags, out of pockets, okay? Everybody's going to be safe.
It's important that we see the palms of your hands. Excuse me, it's important that we see the palms of your hands, everybody. It's important.
After all that, you can finally see them leave the school and then make their way safely across the street.
And here's more video. Here, Amy.
Yeah, it shows the moments the students filed out of the school, hands in the air. This is from our viewer, Jose Gutierrez. He says he was just outside the arts building.
We're hearing the audio, too, from police dispatchers as several law enforcement agencies responded to the shooting. Take a listen to the chilling moments as officers swarmed the school.
Priority call, Reynolds High School, 1698 Southwest Cherry Park Road. Got a report of shots fired in the locker room. At least one person down. Medical's responding, code 3.
2 people shot, 1 is down, person is wearing a vest.
We have 223 casings and the smell of gunpowder in the front of the PE building. We have the PE building pretty much surrounded right now. We're going to have to go and clear it.
Reporting the total heard 3 to 4 shots in the locker room and 3 to 4 more in the gym. Employees are locked down in the storage room.
No information about where the suspect is. All we have at this point is possibly wearing a flak jacket. Original report said a black and red motorcycle helmet armed with an assault rifle.
But I need to get at least 5 guys by the front of the gymnasium to make entry. Group of 4 making entry. We got shots fired.
Making entry. Shots fired.
Shots fired.
Shots fired in the locker room.
Okay, we're moving into the locker room. Okay, 9202. Right now we have at least 6 to 8 guys inside. I want everybody else to stay outside.
We've got suspect down on the toilet, but we cannot see him.
It appears at this point we have the suspect contained in a bathroom. It may be self-inflicted at this point, but we're not sure, so everybody hold.
I need medical to meet me at the east main gym doors. We need to go in and assess the patient. We have contact with the suspect, and he is down, correct?
Affirm.
3, do we have any information that there's more than one or just one suspect?
We've so far just one.
Copy. Subject is reportedly contained.
Can we confirm the suspect is down?
Affirmative, M65.
The impact of a shooting like this is often felt across the country, and in Washington, D.C., we saw a very emotional speech from Congressman Earl Blumenauer before a moment of silence.
In a scene that is achingly familiar, this morning at Reynolds, a shooting occurred. Student killed, the shooter died, the teacher wounded. I would ask, Mr. Speaker, that the House observe a moment of silence in support for the victims, their families, and the community.
Blumenauer recalled a recent visit to that very school when students gave him a wooden bow tie. He calls the Reynolds High School program there a terrific institution.
This country has some soul searching. That is the word from President Obama tonight.
Fox 12's Sophie Sung is here with his strong message after today's school shooting.
Yeah, the president says he's frustrated. He says most things in Washington don't surprise him, but he's stunned that after 20 children were killed in Sandy Hook, that gun laws have not changed. And he says seeing another school shooting today here in Oregon with no restrictions going through Congress is something we should be ashamed of.
We're the only developed country on earth where this happens. And it happens now once a week. And it's a one-day story. There's no place else like this. So the country has to do some soul searching about this. This is becoming the norm.
The most horrific of all these school shootings happened in December of 2012 at Sandy Hook Elementary in Connecticut. 20 children and 6 members of the school staff were killed. The children were all just 6 or 7 years old. It remains the most deadly school shooting in U.S. history, but since Sandy Hook, there have been 74 more school shootings, including just last week at Seattle Pacific University, where Portland native Paul Lee was killed. The Westview High School graduate was a freshman. 2 others were also shot before a fellow student was able to stop the suspected shooter. In 1998, then 15-year-old Kip Kinkle killed 2 students and wounded 25 at Thurston High School. Earlier that day, Kinkle killed both his parents. That rampage involved 3 guns, more than 1,100 rounds of ammo, and 2 hunting knives. And it followed Kinkle's expulsion the day before when a gun was found in his locker. In this latest shooting, we still have many questions about what happened. So far, police have not released the identity of the shooter, and we'll likely hear much more about what led up to today's tragic events in the days to come. Sophie Schoen, the 10 o'clock news.
Now to the second most recent shooting on a school campus last week in Seattle. Tonight we're hearing from Sarah Williams. She was critically hurt in the shooting at Seattle Pacific University. She posted this picture of herself along with a statement thanking everyone for the incredible outpouring of prayers and support. She adds that she is healing and getting stronger. Paul Lee, a freshman from Portland, was killed last week when a shooter opened fire on campus. 2 others, including Williams, were hurt. And prosecutors filed a formal charge today against the man accused in that shooting last week. Aaron Ibarra was pepper sprayed and then wrestled to the floor by a student security monitor and then held down until police arrived. He's being held without bail tonight. Ibarra was on suicide watch since being arrested. His attorney says he has a long history of mental problems, and investigators say Ibarra kept a detailed journal about wanting to kill as many people as possible.
His final journal entry was on the morning of the shooting, where he wrote about his excitement that he could finally carry out this plan. He wrote, "I just want people to die, and I'm going to die with them."
Prosecutors say they will seek a penalty of life in prison without the possibility of parole.
When faced with something like these shootings, something so emotional, many parents may be wondering how best to help their kids deal with it. Fox 12's Ben Singer talked with an expert on child psychiatry about the best way to handle this.
Dr. Ken Ensworth says after a school shooting like this, parents want to take the lead in addressing the concerns of their kids. And we're not just talking about kids who go to Reynolds High School. News like this travels fast and can lead to fear and uncertainty for any student.
Hug your child, talk to them, ask them how they're feeling, ask them what you can do to help them feel better. Ask how they heard about it. Ask them where were they, whatever they're willing to and feel comfortable talking about, so that you make it clear that it's okay to talk about it. Give simple, clear answers. Try to hide things, but don't give them too much information, but give them good information. And again, normalizing that you can have all kinds of reactions. It can be very scary.
And what sort of behavior should parents be concerned about in their kids after this?
Really, it's mainly a change in behavior, something that's unusual or different, or a set of things that's different for your child.
If parents are concerned about their child's behavior, experts say the first place to begin would be a visit to or a conversation with their primary care doctor. And for students, parents, or anyone deeply affected by this terrible event, there is a hotline that you can call for help. The Multnomah County Mental Health Line is listed on your screen. The number is 503-988-4888.
And we're still waiting to find out who the shooter is and any possible motive. Stay with Fox 12. We'll bring you the latest on air and online at kptv.com.
All right, time for a look at your weather now. We bring in Fox 12's Mark Nelson.
We've had some nice weather, haven't we, over the last, 2 weeks here? Look at the high temps here. You go back, 12 days. I think we've only had one day when we've been in the 60s. Typical high during this period, 70, 71 degrees. So most days we have overachieved. Now, you may have noticed the last few nights, kind of mild. Same thing tonight. Temperatures bottom out in the low 50s here in the city, maybe some upper 40s in the outlying areas. Okay, we do have a cool down coming up. We'll let you know when those showers arrive. Our gardens could use a soaking because it has been unusually dry. We'll look at the big picture, too, here as we head through the next week. That's after the break. All right, you know what? We've had some very dry weather. You probably already know that, but take a look at these stats. I was kind of surprised by how little rain we've had here over the past month. Take a look at this. Just since May 10th in Portland, we've had 1.38 inches. You might say, okay, well, that seems like a decent amount of rain. That's over a whole month. As we go into the warm season, which we're obviously in now, lawns need about 1 inch of rain per week. So places like Chicago or Detroit or St. Louis, they have thunderstorms off and on during the warm season, and so they might get 3 or 4 inches during the month. But if we get that much, yeah, things start to really dry out there. And it gets worse as you go down the Willamette Valley and then for sure east of the Cascades, as you would expect. Very dry. Salem, you've had about ½ an inch of rain in the last month. Less than that in Eugene and Roseburg. That means, yeah, the dry season has already kicked in. Sometimes, a lot of years it doesn't kick in until around the 4th of July. So we're running a good 3 weeks ahead of normal, I would say. And we don't see any sign of a bunch of rain coming up. So we probably have started the dry season unusually early. Maybe if we get lucky, it'll end early, too. Maybe we'll get a good soaking in late August. We'll see. All right, so right now, 64 degrees, pretty comfortable out there, pretty warm evening. Today, we were up in the mid-70s here in the Willamette Valley, some 60s at the coast. East side, a lot of cool air coming through the Columbia River Gorge. Strong wind. Look at the Dalles, one of the cooler spots. You had gusts over 40 miles per hour out there. The wind was just raging. Tomorrow, the wind goes much calmer, as we actually might even have a very light east wind in the morning through the gorge. But that should push Portland's temperature up. It should be around 80 tomorrow. 74 today to 80 tomorrow, so up about 5 degrees. Mostly sunny, just brief clouds tomorrow early on the east side of the metro area, so I think it's a shorts and a t-shirt sort of afternoon coming up. You can see on the satellite picture this pretty good-looking weather system out here. What's left of this is going to drag through not tomorrow, but on Thursday, and that gives us our chance for showers. So tomorrow, not much change. The weather you had today should be about the same coming up for tomorrow, and that means afternoon sunshine at the coast, too. But then on Thursday, we start cloudy. The rain showers will come in the afternoon on Thursday. So Thursday afternoon, that's our first good chance for showers. We could have a leftover shower or two on Friday. I don't think there'll be much. Maybe a shower on Sunday, big question mark, but I think that's it. That's the best we can do for rain. So you should be watering your lawns, gardens, and plants as if it's July now, because I don't see a good soaking coming up. Just some wet stuff on Thursday. So morning clouds and mostly sunny coming up here in the valleys. Most of the clouds will be in the Portland metro area and also at Kelso, 76 degrees up there. East of the Cascades coming up for tomorrow. It looks like we'll see temperatures mainly in the 80s. And just sunny and warm conditions. Now, up on Mount Hood tomorrow, great weather for hiking. 62 coming up at Government Camp, about 58 at Timberline Lodge, and then the freezing level pretty high, still at 13,000 feet. Here in Portland, 53 early, 80 in the afternoon, sunny afternoon, just a little bit warmer than today. And here's a 7-day forecast. Boy, kind of chilly there, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. And then as we go into Sunday, which is Father's Day, we may stay dry if we get lucky. Really, there is a chance for showers both Saturday and Sunday, but I think it's a pretty small chance. I think it'll be pretty pleasant weather, just a little bit cooler than average. Then I have a feeling we'll warm up quite a bit next week. Next week should be quite a bit warmer than this week. Amy and Wayne?
All right, thank you, Mark. New video tonight shows us the moment comedian Tracy Morgan was pulled from a crashed limo.
For Fox 12, Nichelle Turner reports the driver of the Walmart truck that hit him had been awake for more than 24 hours.
Startling video obtained by TMZ shows actor Tracy Morgan being pulled from the Mercedes limo van the night he was critically injured. A publicist for the former 30 Rock star says Morgan, a father of 4, is in critical but stable condition, dispelling amputation rumors following surgery on a broken leg, saying those rumors are, quote, completely fabricated. And now new details from a criminal complaint say the driver of the truck that hit Morgan and others hadn't slept for a period in excess of 24 hours, possibly the cause of the crash.
There are very strict federal laws that dictate what drivers can do and what they can't do, and they just went into effect. You don't drive for more than 8 hours in a row. You got to take a 30-minute break, and in a 14-hour day of working, you can't be behind the wheel for more than 11 hours.
35-year-old Kevin Roper is being charged with vehicular homicide for operating a vehicle recklessly and charged with assault by auto on those injured in the accident, including Morgan. The limo driver described the chaos after the crash by phone to ABC.
I climbed around and heard Tracy screaming for help, but I couldn't reach him and pull him. I don't know if we flipped several times, one time.
The van was overturned and crushed by the impact from the truck. Morgan's friend, comedian James McNair, known as Jimmy Mac, was killed in the wreck.
Live from New York, it's Saturday night!
Morgan shot to fame as a longtime cast member on SNL. His castmate Seth Meyers spoke to CNN's Jake Tapper about his friend.
Certainly sending our thoughts and prayers everywhere on the staff. You know, Tracy was a vet at SNL when I started, always looked out for me. So, yeah, I'm definitely thinking of him now.
Roper turned himself into police on Saturday and could face jail time. He's free on $50,000 bail. He'll be in court tomorrow for arraignment.
5 American soldiers have been killed in Afghanistan. Officials now say the troops were mistakenly bombed by a coalition jet. The troops were in the middle of a security operation ahead of Afghanistan's presidential runoff election. Officials say nearby other American forces ran into some militants and air support was called in. They say the Air Force accidentally bombed the wrong people. Now 5 American troops are dead.
We do have reason to suspect that friendly fire was the cause here, specifically friendly fire from the air. But the issue's under investigation.
There have been at least 5 major instances of so-called friendly fire since the war began in 2001. This comes as President Obama recently announced the U.S. troops will be withdrawing from the country by 2016.
A major upset in the world of politics tonight. House Majority Leader Eric Cantor lost in the Virginia Republican primary. That did not stop protesters chanting for immigration reform from storming his campaign headquarters. The group is called Casa in Action. Cantor was beat tonight by an economics professor and Tea Party Republican David Bratt. Bratt accused Cantor of abandoning conservative principles in favor of donors in New York and California.
A horse that got loose and ran into a New York City taxi is fueling the debate now over those horse-drawn carriages in the Big Apple. The horse named Pumpkin broke free from his carriage in Central Park and ran right into the open doors of the taxi and left quite a dent. But Pumpkin seems to be doing just fine tonight.
It is time to get these animals off of the streets of New York City and into loving adoption homes. It's time to upgrade to the 21st century, get with the program.
New York Mayor Bill de Blasio is one of several hoping to replace the horse carriages with vintage electric cars.
Ahead, our coverage on the Reynolds High School shooting continues.
We're following the latest on the victim, the shooter, and where students are tonight. Plus, see this happen through their eyes just ahead.
You're watching the 10 o'clock news. First, live, local.
Here's another look at that vigil from earlier tonight for Reynolds High School shooting victim Emilio Hoffman. Students are remembering a freshman and a friend who was killed in their school. Our crews have been out covering so many different angles of this tragedy, and we're bringing you the very latest.
Now we want to bring you the story through the eyes of the students and the parents as it happened.
Horrible. It's very scary. She was in the dark room and it freaked me out because I couldn't talk to her. But now that I have her, I'm good. My mom called me from Washington. And she's and she said, "Is Hope okay?" And I said, "What do you mean?" And she said, "There's a shooting." And then I dropped to the floor in the middle of Walmart.
The guy went over the intercom screaming that it wasn't a joke and we had to get locked down somewhere safe.
We ran to the this hallway in between the weight room and the main gym, and we barricaded the door, and then the police came about 30 minutes later, and then they told us it was free to come out with our hands up, and then by the time we had to get escorted across the street and we had to drop our bags off.
I was just now walking out the door, and this when I heard shots, and then everybody started running. Right now I just want to go home and sleep, think about the next day, and I'm happy that I'm still alive right now.
We heard a gunshot, but I thought it was just like something fell, and then another gunshot happened, so we sprinted to the other side of the room while our friend Tate was banging on the door saying, "There's a guy with a gun, let us in, let us in." So we let him in and heard another shot, and then we ran to the room, and then while we were in the back of a different room, they said that Tate said that he chased down Mr. Rispler and tried shooting him, but it missed and barely got him in the head.
Straight ahead tonight, we are back live at that candlelight vigil held after today's school shooting, how the community came together to remember one of their students.
And teachers creating a device to keep students safe during a shooting. Fox 12 shows you the new product and how it works.
You're watching Fox 12 Oregon. First, live, local.